everyone, it's Allie, and I'm just doing a video check-in here in week 2 for the History of Television class. And all of you should be acquainted with how to navigate the course Canvas page at this point and where everything is located. And any assignments that were assigned in week 1, I have kept open through week 2 due to the college's add drop period. So if you're a little bit behind from week 1, don't worry, quick catch up here. And then after that, try to stay mindful for assignment due dates. And just as a reminder, discussion forums, as well as any quizzes or survey feedback type of activities, those will always time out after that 24-hour grace period that I give on all assignments. Written assignments such as reflection essays or portions of the research paper and the oral history midterm, those can be handed in a little bit late, but points will be deducted for late work. Other than that, I hope that you've all started to get acquainted with the 2 main assignments. So everyone should know what I'm talking about when I say oral history assignment, which is due in the middle of the semester, and then the final paper, which again, the final paper has 4 parts. And I posted the assignment PDFs and assignment sheet guideline, plus a little video overview, much like this, for each of those assignments. And so you can find that towards the top of the course Canvas page, which is where you've probably seen it already. And then those assignment sheets, as well as the accompanying videos, are also found in the modules where they're handed in. So the first one will be the proposal coming up week 4. So you can find that information at the top of the page or in the week 4 module. So hopefully that's helpful. And this week, we're starting to look at television history and how TV starts to be shaped by things that are happening outside of television itself. Where we really see this is when we talk about the public debut of television in America, in the United States. It happens in 1939 at the New York City World's Fair, and we looked at that a little bit in our week 1 screenings. And then you'll notice there's not like a whole lot. It'll be like 1939, New York City World's Fair. And then in the 40s, it's not that television disappears or doesn't exist, but it doesn't advance to the rapid degree that you might expect. And that doesn't really happen until the 1950s because of World War II. So in World War II, a couple of significant changes do start to happen in American society, which does impact what we start seeing on our screen a little bit in the 1950s, but we'll really see these changes happen in the 1960s and 70s. And that's the way that women kind of rise in the workforce during World War II in America itself. As the men go off to war, a lot of women start to leave the house, to leave the domestic sphere, and to enter the public sphere in a working manner. And sometimes women are doing very, very masculine jobs, such as working at factories. And when the men return home after the war and we're back into peace times, into the 1950s, not all women are for this. Some women liked that independence that they found. They liked the paycheck. They liked the jobs themselves. And they're not so eager to give up their spaces. And so we start to see like a little bit of that simmer happening in the 1950s that'll explode in the late 1960s into the 1970s with the feminist movement of that era. And similarly, race starts to really be different during World War II as black men go off to fight, particularly in Europe, and they're not treated with the same level of discrimination that they see in their home, who they're fighting for in this war. They want changes made when they get back. And so these race kind of relations start to simmer too, and the civil rights movement starts to really pick up in the 1950s, actually, particularly with 1954 Brown versus Board of Education is when segregation becomes like a legal mandate in this country. And so we don't see it on our television screens at such a high level. Again, much like that feminist era, this doesn't really start to appear until the 60s and into the 1970s. But we start to see changes in both women, how they're treated here in our society, as well as minorities, particularly blacks. And so we're spending a little time this week looking at that with some online exhibits. And these changes that we're looking at, we're really kind of focusing a little bit outside of television when we're at these online exhibits. Um, and then we're taking back the information that we're gleaning from these exhibits to what we're studying in this class. And so this week I'm going to have you write reflection essays, particularly about these exhibits, and you get to choose one or the other because it's quite a bit of work. You don't need to do both of them, and then you'll become a little bit more of an expert on either race or gender in this era. And pick which one you're most interested in because we're going to follow these online exhibits into our reflection essays next week as we discuss either race on the sitcoms Amos and Andy or I Love Lucy, or gender as we look at I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners. So hopefully you find these online exhibits interesting. I always think in a class that's delivered with an online component, utilizing some of these virtual exhibits and these primary source materials is a really great thing that we can do that we couldn't necessarily do within the confines of the classroom. So I look forward to reading your reflection essays both this week for week 2, and then again, don't forget to take back what we're looking at next week when we're doing the screenings back to these exhibits, and it'll make everything a lot more interesting and you'll adhere to the assignment guidelines. All right, thank you a lot for your attention.